I never seen Manny Arora, the Mad Dog from Arora Law Firm, roll up to the Golden Scissors studio on such a sweet ride. Got this little fast zoomer thing, pulls into the garage, the parking lot or driveway, and then he gets out and he's dressed like a sharp-dressed man, as Easy Top would say. Getting ready to go into court and kick some ass, I bet.
That's true. You told me to get pretty. The last couple of times I wore sweat clothes and you were not impressed.
So that's what you have to do to come to my basement. You have to, if you're a guest, you have to dress up. That's the rule. I'm assuming you are going to court.
I am going to court, federal court, unfortunately, this morning to take a little bit of a beating.
So you know you're going to get a beating.
Yeah, experience tells you what's going to happen with some of the issues and the judge and all that. So,
oh no,
you prepare for it, you get the client prepared for it, and then you hope for the best.
So you go to the client and say, "Look, we're going to lose tomorrow.
We're going to take some lumps tomorrow." Yes.
You don't say we lose. You don't use that word.
Well, it's not really losing. It's discretionary is what the judge is going to do. But I don't expect to prevail and walk out of there a free person with my client.
Okay, so what's the case?
The case involves a little bit of bribery with the federal agencies and things to get contracts for military exercises
contracts
we've got going overseas. I guess that's what you call it. But
like was it Blackwater stuff?
it's not Blackwater. It's more simple than that. But it's just like when Dick Cheney and all those folks, were paying $8, getting $8 a bottle of water and all those kinds of crazy things with their contract, whereas you could get the water for like $1 if you actually bought it from locally. Nobody else gets indicted except our people get indicted. It's just always a small fish that catch it.
Yeah, and this is the small fish.
It's a relatively small fish.
But is this guy ex-military?
They're contracted with the military, so they have connections, and then you can sort of lobby for contracts, and you can get with a logistics officer and grease a couple pockets and make things happen.
Yeah, that whole world is real dirty. I've known a few different people that have worked for those contractors, and especially right after, we took down Saddam's castle and all that stuff. Like, I got a old friend of mine, I haven't talked to him in years. He was in there, like, literally the day of. Yeah. And it looked like Braveheart. Everybody's, scavenging and just taking stuff and going through. And those stories that you'd hear about stuff being buried in the desert, it's true on both sides. Like, they buried it so they could hide it and come back later, and we buried it to hide it so nobody would see us come home with it. So I guess everybody at one time is going to go back out there and dig it all up. But all that was real. But the money that they were making because of the money that they were given, which was money reallocated from somewhere else, is nuts.
Yeah, it's all taxpayer money. And I guess if you want to start a war, you get the contracts and people gouge the hell out of you. That's why war is such great business.
Yeah, it is great business. That's phenomenal. So your guy's guilty of what? Taking bribes?
Giving
bribes?
Yes.
Meaning, hey, I'll rub your back if you give me a pistol.
Something like that.
Okay.
It's actually getting the contracts for the government so you can make a huge profit.
Gotcha. Okay.
Getting the contracts is very competitive, as you can see, because it's super lucrative because we're overpaying so much for the most simple items there.
Is this kind of like, would this be considered a, white collar crime?
Yeah, because there's no drugs or weapons. And yeah, so I would consider it white collar crime.
So what did you tell your client? You said, look, dude, you're done. They got you.
Well, it started off relatively well, but when they start flipping everybody on the governmental side, there's only so much you can do. If one or two people say you did it, maybe you can attack credibility. There may be some issues, but the paper trail and all those kinds of things, it kind of adds up to be a little too much.
Was this guy kind of a dummy? He didn't really do a good job of covering his ass?
I don't think you have to be a dummy. I mean, if people are going to flip on you, they're going to flip on you no matter what you do, and then they can walk the government through the paper trail.
Is he in jail currently?
No.
No. So he's getting ready to go to jail.
Well, today you get sentenced, but you still get to go home and you'll get to self-report to jail when the time comes, assuming you get jail time.
How much time do you think he'll get if he gets any?
Well, the federal sentencing's based on a grid. It's a guideline, so you're going to most likely get time unless the judge is feeling extremely generous. So I'd say a couple of years. Maybe a little bit more.
This guy's got a family?
I mean, everybody has a family, but we make the choices that we make.
Yeah. Oh, but I mean, he's got a wife and kid at home.
I don't know if it's a wife, but yeah.
So he's got to go home after today and sit down and start getting all of his stuff in order so he can start going to jail?
We've had plenty of time. I mean, you could sort of sense it was going. It's not like we tell them at the last minute. I mean, once you go through the case, have hearings and things like that, you sort of know how it's going to go.
It's like that.
And then you prepare them.
It's like that scene in Fletch when Fletch goes to the doctor and he's trying to get some scoop on Alan Stanwyck, and he's lying to the doctor by saying that he's a member of the club and he's Margaret's nephew, and Margaret's husband, his uncle, died, and he doesn't know, so he's playing, being Chevy Chase, and the doctor goes, and Chevy Chase, yeah, it was just so suddenly, it was so soon, and the doctor says, he was dying for years, and then Chevy Chase says, yeah, but I mean, at the time, like when he died, it was just really soon, right when he died. That's what I'm talking about. The guy knows he's going to jail, but it's suddenly at that time when you have to report to jail, that's when it becomes real.
Yeah. It's like that Leonardo DiCaprio movie. I don't know if you guys saw it, where he was going to get ready to go to prison for drug dealing or something like that.
That was Edward Norton.
Or Edward Norton.
Yeah, 24 hours.
Really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Makes me feel uncomfortable. It's so good.
Yeah.
Barry Pepper's in that too.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I just remember that because it really captures the...
Philip Seymour Hoffman's in that as well.
Yeah, it's just you sort of get delusional when it's your time that's coming up, and you sort of relitigate everything in your mind that happened and who screwed you over, much like in this case, and there you go.
Did anybody get this guy's back, or did everybody just screw him over?
Nobody ever gets anybody's back. This whole thing about, gang members protect each other and people get killed, it's all horseshit. Pardon my language. It's fine. Garbage.
Podcast, you can say that.
Everybody's narking on everybody. It's
gonna be
insane.
out for themselves when it's gonna hit the fan.
Absolutely. So this whole loyalty, all that stuff that the government tries to portray.
Yep.
Most of the gang cases, including the Young Thug thing, it's all based on snitches. But they'll get up there and say the first rule is you don't snitch, and it's a gang code and this and that. I mean, they've been watching too many movies, and they, prey on jurors' minds thinking that's how it is because we've all seen The Godfather and everything else. Nobody snitches. All the cases are based on snitching.
What does that have to do with the government? Wouldn't that be for the defendant? That would be the gangs snitching on each other.
Well, the government flips the gang members to come and snitch on each other. That's my point. Everybody snitches. There's no court of silence. I think the cops are the only ones that are really good about keeping mum about misconduct.
Really?
So far. But, if the gang standard is we wear the same colors, we do the same thing, we take the same oath, all that, I guess the cops are a gang. Mm-hmm. Football teams are a gang. In Georgia, if three black dudes are hanging out together, theoretically they're a gang. I mean, everything's gang now. I mean, it's just, it's the...
Well, we're gang.
The way of the world.
When we do our events, we wear our colors.
I mean, if you wear your BS shirts, you're a gang.
Yeah. We're a gang.
You're a gang.
We're a gang. Nikki's the leader of the gang.
Why am I the leader?
You go by chainsaw.
The 2P posse.
Yeah, the 2P posse. I'll be Dewdrop. Oh.
I'll be Left P.
You'll be Left P.
I love P.
Nate, you can be Senior Ola. And
Cartel Nate.
And Brandon, you can be Sweatface. How about that?
I want to be little Peter Pop.
Little Peter Pop.
You can be Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton. Little Stapleton. Little Stapleton. Well, no, that's right. We all got to be Lils, right? So I'll be.
I'm going to be a Young.
You want to be? YUNG.
YUNG.
Right. Yeah. So you're young.
And you can be
Mad Dog.
Little.
Young Mad Dog.
Young Mad Dog.
I'll be
slightly upset dog.
Little Dewdrop over here, reporting for duty. Whatever I got to do. All right, Manny Arora, the Arora Law Firm. By the way, good luck with this case.
Thank you.
Doesn't sound like it's very. You're gonna have a good day, but do you take that home, or when you get home, it's like you?
Oh, you absolutely take it home. I mean, I don't do that many cases per year, and you get to know these people, and it's hard.
What do you do? Like you go home and kill a fish or something?
No, I mean, you just learn to deal with it after all these years. I mean, you either
Drugs.
start medicating yourself or
Alcohol.
you go play a lot of tennis.
Yeah.
You do something. I mean, it personally affects you because most of the people are actually decent people that just do dumb things. I mean, it's just human nature.
I agree with that statement. I think that a lot of criminals, most criminals, are good people. They just either get caught up in the wrong scenario or make a bad decision, and they just kind of get sucked into it. I really believe that.
Right. Well, it'd be a person like you. I mean, you sort of get tempted and you do one thing and it's easy and you do it again for a little while and eventually somebody rats you out. Now, if you were a repeat offender and you've been killing people or something like that.
That's a bad person.
Yeah, that could be a bad person, and you try your hardest for them, but you don't necessarily always take that one home because it's just been an ongoing pattern. But the overwhelming majority of the people are like guys like you sitting here in the studio or listening to this thing. It's just you make one bad decision, or you just get carried away in the moment, and there you are.
Or you get sucked into a life that you only had so many options. It's hard for like I know, but what I'm saying is there are people that get sucked into a life because that's the environment that they were brought up in. They know no different, right? I bring up this example. Rachel is part of the Atlanta Legacy program or whatever it is, where they find houses for people that were born here, and they're revitalizing some parts of Atlanta that are historic, that have been taken over by drug dealers and whorehouses and crime and this and this and that. And there's a group of houses, there's 6 of them, and they're all tear down rebuilds with the exception of one. This guy won't sell, and he rents it out to drug dealers and whores. I mean, that's a fact. And so I went down there with Rach she was showing a house to somebody, and I drove up and I park in front of this house, and they're all out on the balcony, and I get out and I said, I go, "What's up?" They were nicest people, the nicest, you people are like, "Oh, I can't believe you'd go down there." I go, nicest people in the world. Didn't look over my shoulder once, Now he could have been hustling me. I'm not saying he wasn't, but it was like, that guy was nice. He had good bones. He's just got caught up in some shit, right?
Right.
And that's just the life he chose. But he was a nice dude, really nice guy. I was going to invite him over for dinner and everything.
I mean,
sure you are.
You can make bad choices and be a nice person. I mean, half the murders that happen are just spur of the moment kind of thing. You just kind of lose your temper. Things just get out of hand. It's
look at Nikki.
Look at Nikki. What does that mean?
Oh, you know exactly what that means. A chainsaw. All right, so let's go back to the AuroraLawFirm.com. That's the website. He's located here in Atlanta, but he practices nationwide. So if you need anything specializing in criminal law, get a hold of Manny Arora, theAuroraLawFirm.com. All right, so the questions that you've given us since Manny's last visit via social media or podcastthebs.com, we're going to get to here. Also, some of the voicemails that you leave on the hotline, you can do that at any time. 404-369-3825. 404, was it Fox Duck, right?
Yep.
Fox Duck. 404 Fox Duck. All right, here's your first one. I was set up for a drug sale during the pandemic. Are there any laws at all that could help me since it was a pandemic? It was set up in 2020 by UCs on a controlled sale. It was in the middle of the pandemic. It really is bugging me that the whole world was completely shut down from a global pandemic where everyone lost their jobs and cops were out there trying to buy drugs from people. So I'm wondering, is there any laws that could protect me since it was during the state of an emergency?
Unfortunately, no. Just for everybody listening, UC means undercover. So that could be an undercover officer posing as this. The only thing you might have is an entrapment defense. And entrapment works in the fact that you're not inclined to commit a crime, but somebody keeps pestering you like, come on, help me out. I know you know somebody that can give me some drugs or something like that. And you call them 10, 12, 15 times, and he finally says, fine, just get off my back. That's entrapment. So that would be the only thing that could help him. But if the guy calls you up once or maybe twice and says, I need something, you say, sure, bring over $1,000. That's not entrapment. And unfortunately, it'll probably be on audio or video because a lot of the video is in their buttons now for the undercovers. Ooh. So it looks like a shirt button or a pin. There's no more, wires or any of that stuff that you see from the 70s and 80s movies. It's very technologically advanced. It could be in your phone. It could be in your glasses. It could be wherever.
Or they have the mini reel-to-reel, and then when it falls out, it's just like there's...
Yeah, it's around your waist.
A bunch of tape goes everywhere.
That's a Fletch situation.
An adult tenant assaulted minor children for the second time. What are my rights moving forward with the landlord? A tenant in the park has assaulted a group of children and was arrested. Come to find out, he did the same thing last year to another group of children. He was allowed to remain in the park, and the other tenants were not notified of the incident. Now that he has done it again, what are my rights moving forward, as one of the children were mine?
So when you say assault, they're talking like hit him, I'm guessing, instead of sexual advances or something?
I would assume.
So if he's been arrested, this other person sounds like they're the tenant, so you go to the landlord and you make a complaint. If the landlord doesn't take adequate measures to protect everybody, you can file suit against the landlord for negligence liability issues as far as that goes, because they're supposed to make the area safe when it's known that somebody's, going to be committing crimes or they've done it more than once in the past. And you can also sue the person that got arrested for assaulting the kids, if on behalf of your child, assuming, there's injuries and things of that nature. So you can go after the perp and you can go after the landlord if they don't do anything about it.
So is that in any case, if something happened prior and either A, nothing was done, or B, nothing was told to you that it was done, do you have any ammunition if it were to be done again and say, dude, what are you doing? Like, if you knew about this.
Right, so it's called foreseeability. So premises liability means if you live somewhere, they're supposed to make it safe, right? Either be your business, strip mall, apartment complex, what have you. So if the person knew about it, whether they told you or not that they knew about it, doesn't really matter. It's what steps did they take to try to fix that problem so it doesn't happen again. And if they didn't do anything, ignored it, then you have a really good cause of action.
Yeah.
The first time, if it's a one-off, it's probably going to be very hard to sue them because there's no way you could predict that somebody would do something. Now, if you live in a neighborhood where it's surrounded by violence and all that kind of stuff, you should have adequate security. Or if they did a background check, which they normally do now on people that they lease apartments to, you should know that something's up. So depending on the person's background and what the landlord did, you may or may not have a claim.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Because it was an apartment complex. Was it your brother-in-law, Nate, that there was an incident before he got shot? His brother-in-law got shot a couple years ago. I don't know if you remember. Yeah.
I did not know that.
And he's alive.
That's
but
good.
it was a robbery, right? Or they broke in.
Or home invasion. Yeah.
It was a home invasion, and they're stealing his stuff, and they shot him, and they left him for dead. He survived. But what is it? Was it your story that I'm thinking of that, like, just prior, these guys did something similar in the apartment complex, or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but I think maybe what we've discussed before is like if you can get out of your lease if there's like a reasonable fear for your safety or something like that. Is that what you're getting at?
No, I thought that it was your situation, that it's the same guys that did something prior and they didn't do something. They didn't fix the cameras, which drive me insane.
Right, so if a crime like that has happened, now everybody's on notice and they're supposed to take some measures, right? You can hire a security company just to patrol around. You make sure your cameras are working, your gates are working. If not, you really open yourself up to a lot of liability. So hopefully, if that's the case, Nate's brother-in-law should have really gone after him.
Did he go after him? Did he sue him?
Yeah, I think maybe what you're thinking of, like they had cameras, but they weren't working or something like that.
I'm probably getting all my stories mixed up. Knowing.
Yeah, we've heard so many of them.
I know. So did he get any money out of this?
No.
He didn't even try to sue him.
I don't think he could, or I don't know. I can't remember the details. It was a few years ago, but yeah, I'll ask him. I'll get an update.
Is there a statute of limitations?
Typically, it's 2 years on most civil claims, but there's exceptions.
Oh, it's been over 2 years, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, so maybe this is an exception. Oh, my God, I would have sued that whatever out of him. I need to get some kind of compensation for the bullets in the holes in my body.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to your first voicemail here. It's from Manny.
Yeah, my name is Andre out of Pittsburgh, PA. I'm calling to talk about my court cases I'm fighting. So on one of my cases, I got charged with my own firearm because I had a warrant, 2 warrants that I didn't know about, never got notified about. So pretty much they charged me with carrying a firearm not allowed to possess or control, manufacture, something like that. So I think that's what they say. Just want to know what's the outcome of me beating that case. Even with me having them warrants, them cases got thrown out. So I'm just fighting that one charge when they actually found out that I had warrants and they took me down to the county. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so, I mean, obviously I'm not 100% on Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania law. I've done a few cases up there, but it's not illegal to have a gun if you have a warrant, because you generally don't know you have a warrant, because otherwise you'd run away or, do whatever. That's why warrants are sealed or they're not publicized if the cops are coming to get you.
Mm-hmm.
So unless he has a prior conviction, he can very well own that gun. Now, the second thing he said that's troubling is manufacture, control, whatever. That's usually language for drug possession. You can't have a weapon near drugs, especially if it's a prescription kind of thing, if it's, marijuana or cocaine or something like that. So if there were drugs found with that gun, then he could be charged with possession during the commission of a felony, which would be the drug possession. But otherwise, it is 100% A-OK to have a weapon if there's warrants pending against you, because you wouldn't know. The only times you can't have a weapon is if you're out on bond for a case or if you have a prior record.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There you go, Mr. Pennsylvania. Backstory. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Can I sue for wrongful arrest if charges were dropped? No le contest, I believe is the term. Backstory. I called the cops about a man threatening me with a gun in Rockmart, Georgia. I waited outside in my friend's car. The police approached me, and instantly the male officer began harassing me and charged me with DUI and took me to jail. They dropped the charges after viewing the body cam because it didn't prove me to be drunk, and the police officer shouldn't have arrested me when I was the victim who called about a gun. I want to know if I can sue with a capital S, like a name.
All right, so the first line that you read said, like, no contest or something like that.
Can I sue for wrongful arrest if charges were dropped? No le contest, I believe is the term. I don't believe that is the
there's
term.
nolo contendere, but that means you're pleading to something. Not guilty, but just saying I'm pleading no contest. That's what nolo contendere means. So that it's a little confusing if he got charged with something.
I think he's confused with the term. I don't think no le contest is a term.
All right, so if the cop arrests you during an ongoing situation where there's an investigation or detains you for a little while, the cops have immunity. It's called qualified immunity as long as they're acting reasonably within the scope of their duties. And he's going to say, well, I didn't know who did what. This is just what we'd heard, so I just wanted to make the place safe, arrested him. And 99.9% of the time, they'll be fine. But if there's something you can show that the cop acted with deliberate indifference or did something incredibly reckless, then you may have a claim against the officer and maybe the police department. Suing the officers of little value because they're not going to have any money for you to get. So it is a very uphill battle, and they call it a U.S. 1983 violation. It's a civil rights violation for a false arrest and those kinds of things. But it's very, very hard to have success, and you have to show really bad misconduct on the part of the police, like you see on the TV where they're beating people and killing people, stuff like that.
It has to be it's kind of like trying to get malpractice money.
It's got to be.
You almost have to die or lose a limb.
It's got to be pretty bad
Yeah.
and show it. But, something like this where it's an ongoing thing and they figured we don't know who said what. I mean, everybody says whatever, right? They don't have to necessarily believe you. So if they took him to jail and you spent a night, yeah, it's really bad, but you may not have much recourse.
Remember that old guy, Nate, in Orlando across from the gay club, got in a fight with a cop, and the cop was just asking him to get off the premises because he was drunk. He was an older guy. And he just says, look, man, you got to leave. This is private property. They don't want you here. Make it cool. Be cool about this. And the guy attacks the cop and swings on him. And the cop takes him down, and then ends up breaking this guy's hip or something. The guy went after the police department, tried to sue him. And I made a big deal about it. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like, you can't sue the cop when you actually tried to fight him. Like, your dumbass was drunk, trespassing, didn't take direction, and you're complaining you can't do that. You remember that story?
Yeah, I picture like the old guy on The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
Like in the bar, and he's trying to fight him. And I used to be much stronger.
The Scooby-Doo old guy. If it wasn't for those meddling kids. And the argument, I think Bull was furious with me. He's like, cop doesn't have to act like that. He's an old guy. I'm like, what does you can't decide on how you're going to handle something based off of.
Well, you have to
visualize
the threat. If he just pulled out his gun and shot him, that would be a bit much.
He went to punch him, and he didn't have a weapon on him, if memory serves. I don't think he did. But he went to punch him, and all the cop did was it was by procedure, by the book. He went behind him, took him down, and then took him down to the concrete. But when he did that, he broke a hip. I mean, shit happens.
But he body slammed him on the ground. That's why he broke his hip and maybe his arm or something. But yeah, I mean, you shouldn't, obviously, if you try to fight somebody, you kind of get what you deserve. But also if it's a kid, like you see the resource officers taking down a kid and everybody's like, why'd you do it so hard? You could have, whatever, even if they're fighting back, you're like, you should know their strength. So that was like kind of the argument.
Is there an easy way to take somebody down? Think about this. If you're in a bar fight and somebody were to swing on you and they're 80 years old, they're 17 years old, they're 15 years old, they're 12 years old, whatever the case may be, are you really going to take into consideration how hard you are protecting yourself, like to slam them down or to avoid the punch? Nobody is.
I mean, these kids now that are 15 and 17,
look like they're 30.
Bigger than us.
Yeah.
So I told my daughter not too long ago when she was in trouble for something and she like bowled up like she was going to fight me. I'm like, look, this will go down. I will fight you like a grown woman up in here. Decide if this is what you want to do. Shoot.
I'd love to see that.
These kids too big.
Yeah,
I'm not tussling with you.
And they're arrogant because they know, like, when we were growing up, we didn't pull the, I'm not 18 yet. We just were like, well, I don't want to get in trouble because they're going to be grounded forever. And
your
they're
dad could be 3 feet tall and you still be scared of him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. It's like, I'm 17 still. You can't touch me. Bastards. All right. Next one. The Superior Court in Harris County, Georgia, has adjourned my daughter's court case 6 times. What's the limit? They just keep telling her to come back and giving new court dates. But when we show up, they don't do anything. This has happened 6 times. This indictment was over a year ago. We've been in court 6 times. During these times, 6 by the way, the judge called in sick, the lawyer was on vacation, or they just didn't give us a reason at all. Isn't there a limit on how many times they can do this? Or are we supposed to continue attending court dates every 2 to 3 months just to get told to come back again and again? This is extremely frustrating because we travel from another town to get to these court dates.
Well, hopefully they're doing Zoom court for straightforward proceedings like most of the counties are to make it more efficient, but they can have you come 800 times if they want to. I would take it up, with your lawyer. Your lawyer should be explaining to you why there's resets. I mean, one sounded like your lawyer was on vacation. People get sick. It happens. But a lot of times people are asking for continuances. But your lawyer should be able to explain to you why, as far as that goes. That's really the best advice. Talk to the lawyer. You're indicted, so it's a felony. And, there's no limit to how many times you can come back.
Okay, so they're the will of the court. They just got to keep doing what the court asks them to do.
It's not even necessarily the will of the court. I mean, your lawyer could be asking for extensions, or there could be a discovery fight. There could be, whatever. But, yes, you can, as long as the judge says come back, please, for God's sakes, go back. Mm-hmm. You may just want to ask if you can do it by Zoom so you don't have to keep traveling back. Like I said, a lot of the counties let you do Zoom things for simple court
I went
matters.
to court a few weeks ago, and they don't even let you come in there no more. I had to sit out in the hallway, and I was pissed.
I would be too, but I mean, it's different. But thankfully, like Fulton, DeKalb, a lot of the places are just doing Zoom things. Unless it's a real big evidentiary issue, they'll just let you do the generic court dates.
You finally get picked up on that muling situation?
No. I went to court with my friend I was telling you guys about, who has the whole U-Haul thing going on right now, and she sent me some paperwork the other day. Hold on,
wait, what? Recap, because I forget.
So remember, I don't know the whole story because I didn't get the whole story. But her and her friend were moving, had a U-Haul. The U-Haul hit the car, and then someone, I guess her friend, filed a claim with U-Haul for damages to the car, even though they're the one who did it. Oh. So they were arrested. Now I found out for insurance fraud.
Yeah.
So
your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now they sent her paperwork for a pre-trial diversion program. Right. What does that mean?
That means you do some counseling once a week for like 12 or 13 weeks, and they'll dismiss the charges and expunge your record.
Oh, that's nice.
So she should do that then.
I mean, if you're guilty, then yeah, absolutely, because that's a great deal. It'll take everything off your record, and you don't have to go back to court. You just fill out some paperwork.
Yeah, this is what they
go
sent
through,
her,
like
this paperwork right here. And then she got to pay a lot of money.
Oh, it's like $900 or something like that usually. But hey, it's a lot cheaper than a lawyer and going to court and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so just tell her to fill out this paperwork.
Yeah, as long as you get approved, you usually do like a video therapy, or they give you counseling for don't
Oh,
steal.
so she has to
counseling.
still get approved to do it, even after she filled out the application?
Yeah, you have to get approved, but you will because there's no violence or gun, and it's probably not like her 6th offense.
This is her first.
Yeah, so she'll get approved, and that's why the prosecutor's office offered it.
Okay.
And it's a lot cheaper and it's easier. You pay like $900 for the quote unquote counseling.
Yeah.
So, and then you're done. Once it's over, you get a nice little certificate, and then they wipe it off your record.
You're
Oh.
a good friend going to court, though. I got to tell you.
I know. But I'm going to tell you, I went to court because I was trying to understand what was going on, because the story she told me didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It sounds
But
like
she
it's being
tricked me.
nosy.
I wasn't being nosy. I was being
agree.
inquisitive. How am I going to ask you questions, Manny, if I don't know what's going on?
You should have your friend tell you the truth.
You should have your friend come in here. Let Manny grill her.
And then don't have her identify herself. Just say, a friend I know does this. It's not for me.
All right, here's second voicemail. Again, you can leave a voicemail question for Manny, 404-FOX-DUCK, 404-369-3825.
Hi, this is Demetra. I have a legal question about child support rights. I was just wondering, once you already put on child support, what rights do you have as an individual to seeing your child after you're already paying child support? Thank you. Have a good day.
I don't understand.
I guess it means she's paying child support?
I think
as
so.
the mom. Well, the child support's one thing. If it's in the state of Georgia, it's all based on a grid, sort of like what we talked about earlier with the federal census. But for child support, you look at what the mom makes, what the dad makes, and how many kids there are, those kinds of things. And it's like a little number that pops up on the chart, and that's what you're supposed to pay. And you split it depending on who's got custody of the kids. Just because you're paying child support doesn't mean you have to right to see the kids. That's something that's going to be ordered. Like, we have joint custody, you get weekends, you get 3 days a week, whatever. So child support and actual custody or visitation are separate things. And so she should read her either a divorce decree or,
Child support case paperwork. I'm going to be probably calling you soon, Manny, because I'm getting ready to feel like I might need your help.
Okay. Yeah, but
Are
that's
you
just
finally getting child support?
I get child support. He just doesn't pay it all the time.
right. If you don't pay it, you file a claim, and then they go to jail until they do. Or you can set it up to where he has to pay it into the child support office, and they forward you the money from there to make it a little easier.
So we know the father of your kid.
Of course I know the father of
I didn't
my
know we
kid.
knew. I didn't know we knew the.
Would you think I fell asleep and woke up pregnant?
Well, I know, but
It happens more than you
it's-
think.
I know
the
the
date
father
rape
of my
drug.
child.
We've
It's a show on TLC.
we've never talked about
woke up pregnant.
the father. 16 and woke up pregnant. We've never talked about the father of your child, and your child doesn't like you. So I just assumed
My
that
child
you
loves
stole
me.
her. Yeah.
Okay, she loves me, and I don't talk about him because I don't give him TV time. He's not relevant.
Okay. Well, I'd love to have a conversation. Does he live here in town?
He does.
Yeah. So
She hasn't seen him in a year and a half.
do we still talk to him?
Nope. I don't.
Are you friends with him on Facebook?
No.
No.
He blocked me.
He blocked you. Do you know what he
But
does?
he secretly follows me. It's crazy.
What do you know what he does? Like,
Yeah.
is he a drug dealer?
He owns a AC company.
Really? I've always needed a good AC company.
Good for you. It won't be him.
Is he good at his job?
I guess so.
Business?
I've never hired him. I don't know.
There's a difference between business and personal. How much are you getting right now from child support?
He's supposed to pay me $500 a month.
And how much do you get? Oh, he just doesn't pay that.
Yeah, he doesn't always pay it. He's like $2,000 something behind right now.
Oh, man, are you going to get him? Well, you're not a child support
I'm
attorney.
not a child support guy, but I got people. But usually
That's
people
not
get
what I'm going to need your help with. I'm going to talk to you about it off air.
It's the murder.
What you meant to say is he used to own an AC company.
Yeah, he blocked you.
He blocked me and I shot him.
Look at Jason over here. Your daughter hates you. I mean, just because they got in a fight, it happens with everybody.
No.
Who hasn't
She
threatened to
doesn't
kick
hate
their
me.
kid
Don't
out of the
listen to
house?
him.
No.
Everybody threatens to kick their kid out of
You're-
the house at some point.
You're new to this conversation.
listen
This goes back to December. There's a whole backstory behind why her daughter doesn't like her. And
Because
right,
I didn't put up a Christmas tree, is
and,
what he's saying.
and
Good
right
for you, man. This commercial Christmas bullshit.
and rightfully
Thank you,
so. And the reason now, if I would have known the reason why she didn't put up the Christmas tree, I wouldn't have said all those things. But now I know she didn't have the money because TTA ain't paying child support. If TT would have just thrown in a few bones, we could have got ourselves a nice artificial. and Lil D could have had herself a nice Christmas like the rest of us. Fucking little TT. Asshole.
Oh my God.
So there's more to this story, man.
No, it's not. Manny. That's
It's a Christmas miracle.
Thank God Jason and Rachel were around to provide a Christmas for Nikki's daughter.
It's your good community service for the year.
All right, here's the last one. My ex-boyfriend was charged with aggravated assault and family battery. I'm the victim. We have a lease on a house together and, of course, live together. We were working on our problems together to make it work. Well, last Sunday, he decided to put his hands on me again and was arrested. The judge denied bond since he was already on bond for the first case going to trial still. So he sits in Henry County Jail until next court date. What is going to happen? He, of course, has an attorney. I'm working on getting out of the lease, getting a TPO order. I was reading he can possibly not come out and get 5 years. I don't know what his new charges are since he is waiting on a court date in jail. I'm sure they will be the same charges. I'm just curious what's going to happen in this case.
All right, so aggravated assault carries a 1 to 20 year offense, but if there's some type of family violence kind of thing, that changes the dynamic. So whatever the people are telling you, don't worry about the sentence as far as that goes. Also, as far as a TPO, since he's in jail, you don't need one at this point. If he does get bail at some point, the bail will have on there no contact with victims, so the TPO becomes redundant, so you don't want to waste money with a lawyer to get one of those.
And they're a pain in the ass to get.
Well, no, they're actually very easy to get. If you go into court by yourself, it's called an ex parte thing. You tell the judge, hey, all these horrible things have happened. They'll usually pencil whip it straight through, and then you'll have a hearing about a month later where they actually look into the merits of the TPO and whether it should go for 12 months, 3 years, or forever kind of situation.
When I tried to get one, it was like jumping through fire.
It's really not anymore. I don't know how long ago it was, but I mean, I find it's like handing out candy. But in her situation, don't necessarily waste money on the TPO, because if he does get bond, almost 100 out of 100 times there is a no contact order with the victim or witnesses in this. So again, TPO is a little redundant. Mm-hmm. And then she said boyfriend, right? Not husband.
Boyfriend, ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. And then the lease issue, I mean, she can get out of it if there's some provisions in there, or talk to your landlord and then, move on with your life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody got a question for Manny before he goes and loses in court? No. Okay.
I believe I'm victoriously challenged today.
Oh, sorry. Victoriously challenged. Before Manny goes and gets challenged victoriously, does anybody have a question? Nate, yes.
Do lawyers keep records? Like do you say, oh man, did you hear about this lawyer over here? He's like 27-5. Like, do you keep like sports type records, or does it not matter?
It doesn't matter, because the overwhelming majority of the time, if I have a decent case, like I can win this murder case, you'll get a ridiculously good deal. So did you win because you got probation on a murder, or did you not? So actual not guilties are hard to come by. And I'm sure the lawyers keep records, but, I wouldn't know who's getting a not guilty in South Georgia or even down the street in Atlanta, because, it's just nothing of my concern. And people will put it on their social media, but hell, I couldn't tell you how many not guilties I've gotten. I figure maybe 18 over my career. They're hard to come by, because most of the time people will deal if they're reasonable and they see that you have a chance of winning.
Do you want to know if he also has AWS too? Like the percentage of the gavel hitting this point right when the judge decides that everything is over is 18.4% thanks to AWS. Right? That's right.
That's a good point. Yes, like walking. Is he going to walk to the podium and lose his shit?
There's 85% chance that's going to happen. He's going to be victoriously challenged today, thanks to Amazon, AWS.
We should just let AI just do all of it on both sides and say, what are they going to present? What is it, the new thing that writes the papers for people?
GP. Yeah. Well, so I've been learning about this Chat GPT.
It's free right now if you want to use it. It's supposed to be remarkable.
It is. And then there's now already other software that works in conjunction with the AI software, so they tailor make it to whatever it is you're doing. So it's like, this is, I mean, I don't have to tell you it's going to be the next big thing, but it's going to be the next big influx of things that you see on social media as far as your Instagram ads and your Facebook ads, and probably a lot of bots thrown in there and some scams. But there's like technology that will dumb it down for your company or your business or whatever you do. And there's like a whole list of them. There's all these different pieces of software. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I've seen some lawyers write articles about it where they're having their briefs written by it just as a test run. So you feed as many briefs on a case as you can and the facts, and the darn thing can, generate motions and things like that. I mean, they're not perfect at this point, but as you train it, it gets better and better and better.
What if we got to a point where we just, as a country, as a world, our leaders, everybody, if we had a question, we couldn't figure it out because one side can't figure out the other side and the other side can't figure out the other side, we just go right in and ChatGPT. Should abortion be legal? And then you type it in there and it comes back, yes, it should be legal for these reasons, blah, blah, blah. And the other side, which would I guess be what, the right, they have to agree to it because that's what AI said. Can you imagine if we did that?
Antithesis of what the right believes in, right? That's the whole thing is, technology and science is all horseshit. And could you imagine them agreeing to a robot telling them we can't do this?
Well,
after they stack the court,
there is an argument that we've had some robots under skin in the White House over the years. So I don't know. Anyway, okay. So the AuroraLawFirm.com, the AuroraLawFirm.com. That is Manny's website, our hotline, 404-369-3825. Also podcasttobs.com for Manny's next visit. Leave all your stuff there. Best of luck being victoriously challenged today.
Thank you.
Give our best to your client, too, because he's probably going to cry.
I will certainly do that, and hopefully I'll get you a new subscriber if he sits in custody.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Bye-bye.